readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about books that got us out of reading slumps, and hopefully a few of these will catch your eye, or maybe we'll be talking about some books that you already love. So Ed, you know what I say? Let's get straight into it. Do you want to kick us off with your first to biz, as Alan would say? See, we just committed theft.
Well, the first book, the first book that dragged me out of the pits of the reading slump was Boosh, The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. This is a book I could read just in any mood, really. I think Joe Abercrombie has it all in this. It's multi-POV, grimdark style fantasy, which really is kind of a reverse take on the Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's gritty fantasy, it's hilarious. It's written in such a tongue-in-cheek way. Joe Abercrombie has a great sense of humour. It reminds me a little bit of Blackadder sometimes, although a little bit more subtle. And that is one reason why I think I could read this all the time, and it really always just drags me out of a reading slump. I could just read a few pages or a few chapters and I would feel, just like I'm in the mood to read again. Because sometimes you get maybe a bit of overwhelmed, you haven't read for a little while.
It's true.
And yeah, I mean, people like me who get a little bit obsessed, I will read...
as you may see in our Essex Dogs review.
So, I don't know about that, but that wasn't obsessed. That was just, nicely into it.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're on about, just watch the first minute of that Essex Dogs review.
Yeah, and then the rest of the 9 minutes. But yeah, but like if I read tons of books in a month, then sometimes a month after I will feel like reading a little bit less because I've done so much reading. I've read for 2 months basically. But yeah, that's the first book.
You know what I love doing, and this is really weird, but I'm a stats person. I love looking at Goodreads and where it shows how many pages of books you read a month. I just love studying the graph to see, like, what am I like?
He'll wake me up at 7 in the morning at the weekend and be like, Ed, can I look at your stats, please?
Ed, don't be so dramatic. It's at least 7:30.
Sorry. For the millionth time, stop exaggerating.
First up, I have Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. So, at this, I probably read 3 years ago, I think. No. Oh, what? Nearly 4. I'm getting old. Yeah, 4 years ago, I started reading Robin Hobb, starting with Assassin's Apprentice. I think I hadn't read a book for about 2 months. I was preparing for mocks for exams, and I just kind of dropped all reading. And then I thought, I've got something more important than mocks. When I started Assassin's Apprentice, I mean, it actually got to the point where my punishment, if I did anything wrong, would be not being able to read Robin Hobb.
We're taking away Robin Hobb.
It says a lot, doesn't it? But yes, Assassin's Apprentice, it just hooked me.
And you were so naughty as a kid, you got Robin Hobb taken away from you all the time.
Yeah, obviously. That does sound like me. But Assassin's Apprentice, I absolutely adored it, and I love the whole series. It made me read 8 of the Realm of the Elderlings books in 1 month. And I think, other than this one, they're all pretty chunky books. So yeah, I think that counts as getting you out of a reading slump, and Robin Hobb is one of my favourite authors of all time.
Definitely. And we need to talk about the GOAT now, which is Cormac McCarthy. No Country for Old Men is probably the book I would recommend most to people who haven't read McCarthy before, to kind of get them out of a reading slump. I think it's so fast-paced. You might have seen the film, directed by the Coen brothers, but basically the plot is one man in America is in the southern states. He stumbles upon kind of a drug exchange gone wrong and finds a whole stack of money. So he decides, instead to leave it, he takes the money and then goes on the run. And
as you do.
There are a few different parties chasing him, wanting his death and the money. It has one of the best villains ever in Anton Chigurh. It has some fantastic action scenes that are just so tense, and the suspense is palpable. And obviously, Cormac McCarthy is one of the most breathtakingly beautiful writers across the land. This side of the River Danube, I would reckon. He's supreme. So, yeah. If you haven't read Cormac McCarthy before, maybe check this one out as your first one. It's so easy to read. It is written like a screenplay. I think he actually wrote it as a screenplay first.
Yeah, he did.
And then he transferred it into a book. So it's a little bit stripped back, and it is so fast paced. I find it hard to see how anyone wouldn't love this. So
I do agree, Ed. And next up, I have something a bit different from what we usually talk about on the channel. And I have Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I absolutely adored Normal People by Sally Rooney. One of my favourite books of all time. And Beautiful World, Where Are You? I read it about a month or 2 after it came out, and I hadn't read for quite a few months at all. And this was last year. and I started a few books, but they just weren't hooking me, so I stopped about within like 10-15 pages of all of them, even though they're authors I usually really enjoy, such as like Ernest Hemingway as an example. But I picked this up, and Sally Rooney's just got such a writing style that I think, well, I may be wrong, I can only talk from my own perspective, but I think anyone of whatever genre you enjoy, I think this prose style will really hook you, and it's really engaging, and I love her exploration of character and of the human psyche. It is pretty astounding. I just feel so connected to all these characters. Their flaws are shown in such a way where it makes them more endearing in a way, doesn't it? It really connects you to them, where you feel like these are real people with their own trials and tribulations, struggling in normal life. And yeah, I think no one does it like Sally Rooney.
And I think the one reason why Sally Rooney gets you out of a reading slump is because she then puts you into an emotional slump.
Yeah. That's one way to put it.
The next one for me is The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I'm not the biggest fan of the Witcher books. I think they're just a bit all over the place. But The Last Wish is a book I always really enjoy reading, because it is a group of short stories, a collection all about Geralt of Rivia and a few other side characters. I absolutely love the Witcher games, so yeah, I always enjoyed reading The Last Wish. This was kind of like the side quests book. And the second book, Sword of Destiny, is also side quests, and that is probably equally as good to this one. It's just the novels I don't enjoy as much. But this is great because you see the whole wide range of stories that Andrzej Sapkowski tells, and I really like the kind of different scenarios that Geralt is in. And these will fit kind of any mood that you're in. If you haven't read for a little while, you could just read a short story and then, you know, put it down for a little while, pick it back up, and I think you'll probably fly through this because it is so easy to read. And I really like this edition. I think this is Dad's. I don't know if it's a first edition.
Stole it.
I don't know. It is Dad's, but he didn't mind. He didn't mind.
Did you? That's definitely what he said.
I did ask him.
Never. Next up, I have The Hand of the Sun King by J.T. Greathouse. This is a fancy debut, about a character who is torn between two different cultures. One of his mother's side, who are now becoming a dominating empire, who have actually taken on and defeated those of his father. No, I've got it the other way around. His father's lineage, the culture he's from, have created an empire dominating much of the land, and they have defeated the people of his mother's culture. And this is a fantastic book that really just engaged me. I can't say much more because part of the journey of this read is just really it taking you where you don't expect, and it's really satisfying. Really great magic system, really interesting characters. I really love that kind of being a character being torn between their kind of identity, a bit like Uhtred in the Saxon story, between he's born a Saxon but raised a Dane, and there is that constant conflict, that internal conflict within, isn't there? And I find it really intriguing, really engaging. I don't think enough authors have really seen that and taking it on, but J.T. Greathouse really did, and I need to read the sequel. And yeah, this got me out of a reading slump as well.
I do love those covers.
Hence why it's in the video.
And the next one for me is something that really did get me out of a reading slump, and this is The Coming of Conan, the first kind of batch of short stories about Conan by Robert E. Howard. And yeah, they are fantastic. I absolutely love the comics of Conan, especially the Dark Horse run. Just the pictures were just phenomenal. You know, I love looking at all Frank Frazetta art of Conan, and yeah. These stories are so much fun. They're so much fun, and it is short stories again. So I think that maybe that's what gets me out reading slumps, reading kind of, you know, short bursts, short stories that I can kind of, you know, you don't have to get too involved in. But I really love that these feel like you're sitting down with Conan, and he's actually telling you about kind of, you know, all these different things he's been involved in. The writing is breathtaking. It does not feel like it was written in the, you know, in the 20s and the 30s at all. It feels just like similar to Cormac McCarthy at times. That really level of description is so effective and so dark and brutal and atmospheric, and then the bloody awesomeness of Conan, and just he's so much fun to read about. And you know, obviously he's a bit of kind of a brute and it's taking himself a little bit seriously, but all the action is just fantastic to read. And you know, if you're a fantasy fan, then there are so many different things here. It reminds me kind of the old Sinbad films. You know, they were just so mad, and all these crazy mythological creatures, and all the world that was created there is just so visceral and so exciting. And that's what I love about Conan.
Very nice. And I do need to read them. You keep saying it to me,
Honestly,
and I keep failing you
I will,
as a brother.
I'll choose soon for that to be the book that you read.
Nice. Next up, I have Lancelot by Giles Christian. This is historical fiction. It is retelling of Arthurian legend from a historical fiction perspective, as I've already said. Just repeating myself there. But yes, Lancelot, I absolutely adored it. I was in a reading slump. I think I was still reading a few books, but as ones that were compulsive, I had to read for English studies. So I was making my way.
Flashbacks, Will.
I did enjoy it. So not too war flashbacks, but it was good. There's a few books that I wasn't enjoying as much, and it's really quite grueling to push my way through. But this was the first read that I really loved and adored and really got engaged in. That I could just disappear in. That just made, as I said, it just took over really, and it's all I was thinking about.
It's
Lancelot,
so immersive,
and it's one of my favourite reads to this day. Lancelot is fantastic. The sequel's really great as well. I'll probably just prefer this a tiny bit, but both are for sure 5-star reads. And Giles Christian has gone on to become one of my favourite authors, and this was the first book I read by him.
Was it really?
Yes.
What a good book to read.
It is, and it was the first audiobook I listened to. So it's got some sentimental value as well. And Philip Stevens, first narrator I listened to, and my favourite one to this day.
Amen. Imagine Philip Stevens and Stephen Pacey together.
Wow.
That would have been a...
Wait, don't they do Boudica together?
No, Stephen Pacey doesn't do that.
Oh, does he not do that?
No, it's Jeremy Flynn.
Oh, I just thought wrong.
Jeremy Flynn?
I'm not sure.
I think so. I think it's Bronn from Game of Thrones. Anyway, Sisters Brothers by Patrick DeWitt is probably the reason that we are doing a BookTube channel. This really got me hyped up on reading again after quite a few years. You probably read 4 books across like 4 years, hadn't you? And they're all done. I read Dad's books as he published them, and then I kind of read a little smattering of historical fiction on the side, a little bit of Bernard Cornwell. But this, all of a sudden, I read The Sisters Brothers, and then since then, I just have not been able to stop reading.
Yeah.
And this just really took me on a roller coaster. And I just found something in this story that really connected to me. On a personal level, and the writing by Patrick DeWitt, it just takes you away from where you are in life, and it really sends you to 19th century America, riding towards Oregon, and it's so much fun to read. It is about 2 brothers, so maybe I liked it because of that. I like to bicker a lot, but there's a deep love for each other. And I just think Patrick DeWitt, the way he phrases things and the way his subtle sense of humour is very quirky, but his sense of humour is just fantastic. I really found it easy to engage with the story. And I think because it is a cowboy tale, it's a western, but it's a very unconventional western, and it's only about the characters. There's no kind of huge
it's more of a character study, isn't it?
It really is. It's a character study, but they're just wearing cowboy hats basically, which is another reason why I love Larry McMurtry's books as well. But I think The Sisters Brothers, if I was going to recommend a western to read for someone to read, that was a little bit of a cleanser for them, a little bit it will help them move on and to inspire them to read even more books. I think The Sisters Brothers probably takes it just a hair's breadth above True Grit for me.
Mm-hmm. But, Very nice. Is that your last one, Ed?
That's my last one.
I have one more as well, and it's another fancy read. I think, without even meaning to, I did return it.
Oh,
very nice. But that is We Are the Dead by Mike Shackle. This is the first book of a series called The Last War, and this is We Are the Dead, and it is one of the fastest paced books I've ever read. Every chapter ends with a cliffhanger, but in a good way, not where you're just like, oh. And then you get into, you're thinking, I need to see where that goes. Then you're with the next character, and you're really engaged in what's going on with them. It's one of my top 10 books, favourite books of all time. Mike Shackle is an incredible author. I love the entire trilogy, and there's some really engaging characters here. It is grimdark. There is hope, and there are characters that are obviously good.
It's a fool's hope.
But
this is going to become it's a big saying now on the channel.
A fool's hope.
Yeah.
That's book 2, by the way, if you don't know. But yes, there are some characters here that I'd say are some of the best characters created of all time. It's just fantastic. Such as Dren is my favourite, probably. I love Dren. But yeah, that is We Are the Dead. And I was thinking, it is interesting doing these kind of videos, because then I get to thinking of like what made it really help me get out of reading slumps. Yeah. And I think there's two factors that I can kind of point out. Is one is that it's something we're kind of interested in, maybe like Arthurian legend for me. But the other is I think that prose for me usually isn't a make or break factor in reading. But if I'm in a reading slump, I think it really is, because it's more about getting me engaged. And all 5 of those authors, I'd say their prose in those books is absolutely magnificent for different reasons. Like Mike Shackle, it's very stripped back, gets you really into the characters' minds, and then you've got Sally Rooney, that kind of effortless reading that really just puts you into the character's psyche. And then Robin Hobb just creates such a vivid world, and again with the characters exploration, fantastic. I'd say that is where prose becomes really important.
You don't want it too dense, do you? Where
No,
it takes you out the story, and sometimes you like a dense, densely written book, which is, or you can look into all these subtleties and all these extra hidden layers that the author's writing just with like vocabulary choice. But then sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you just want something for the story, or you want something that's immersive. In my case, those books are all incredibly immersive. And they're also, some of them target your heartstrings a little bit as well. So that's probably what got me into it as well.
Very nice. And that is our video. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let us know some books that have got you out of reading slumps. And let us know if we've intrigued you in any of these books, or if you loved any of the books that we mentioned. We always love to hear about that. It's so nice when we receive messages saying people really enjoyed a book we recommend it. It just feels really nice that we're going to share
lives just to geek out with people.
Exactly. That's why we started the channel, to talk about books that we love and to talk to other people who have read those books and discover more as well. So that is always awesome. So please do leave those comments in the description below. But for now, thank you everyone for watching. If you want to find us on other social medias, you can in the links below. We just started a TikTok as well, so that will be in the description below as well. We're not very good at it.
Post-modern, aren't we now?
We are, very. But thank you everyone for watching. Truth and Courage, the Brothers Gwynne.
Truth and Courage, keep reading from the Brothers Gwynne.